Welcome to another episode of Life in Moto. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I kind of took a little bit different approach. Kind of wanted to set aside the motocross things, the track setup, the bike setup, and just kind of reach out and kind of see what's going on in your guys' world. Got a few different people to respond. A couple of you, I didn't get a chance to read yours in time. I apologize. I was doing the best I could with having to write these for the podcast as well as be able to record the audio of this. It's a little bit of a challenge. I'm still learning the ins and the outs of how to make this work. So for me, this is a little bit different, and I'm hoping you guys enjoy this. It's kind of more of a fan base, or not necessarily fan, but just followers of the podcast and social media. Speaking of social media, we're now only on Instagram, but we are also on TikTok, both of which are Life in Moto 21. You can find them there. And we are on most music platforms such as Spotify, Pandora, as well as Amazon Music for the podcast side of things. We also do have the YouTube channel, which is where this is at, which is at Life in Moto. And so what we're going to do, we're going to dive into a couple of their responses. I kind of reached out and said, hey, give me what makes you want to go riding. What are things that make you happy about riding? Kind of what's the reason for why you do what you do or why you ride, as well as some of the things they look forward to for the year 24. Because as everybody knows, we're getting closer to New Year's and a new resolution and kind of new goals. So I reached out to a few of them, got some of their responses, and yes, I will again today be having to read because that's kind of how it works for me. All right, so we're going to start with my number one fan, my number one supporter, which is my kiddo. She gave me the most basic, but I know why she's shy. And she says she enjoys riding because she gets to have fun and spend time with her friends, her family, and she's looking to race in 24. She isn't quite sure if she wants to do on the moto side of things or if wants to race desert, both of which I am going to support and help make possible for her this year. So that's a cool goal and a cool outlook on things. I'm super excited, and thank you. Dad loves you, and that will be that. So on to our next follower. I'm going to pretty much just read their name and read what they wrote for me to read on the podcast. So our next follower of the show is Presley Churchwell. She's 13 years old, and the thing that got her into riding was her dad. She wrote, I used to have a bike, and she's loved them ever since then. She's only been riding for about a year. Her goal for 24 is to make it to the Loretta Lynn's and travel all over to go to races. Something she would like to see out of the podcast is for me to keep having my followers in it. Thank you, Presley. Her Instagram is Presley_C35. It was a little bit on the shorter side, but sometimes that's how it works, and I hope I read that right. I might have botched it, and I apologize if I did. Reach out to me, and I will make sure that it gets edited for another episode. Okay, so now moving forward with a few more followers, this is what our podcast is all about, is sharing each other's stories, maybe helping each other grow, and possibly get out there and ride more or experience more. So our next follower's name is Ashley. She's 27, and this is what she wrote. Born and raised in Northern California. Started riding when I was 3. My dad bought me a PW50 with training wheels. I remember my dad taking off the training wheels and my first crash. I never gave up, and my dad bought every size growing up all the way up to my YZ250F. Being a single dad, he took us out every weekend, either moto, track, or trails, rain or shine. After having my kids, riding dwindled, and maybe a few times a year riding on fire roads with a group of people riding side-by-sides. Not the same and not as fun. This new year, 24, I plan on riding so much more and hopefully finding a couple new friends to ride with. Maybe race once this year in a desert race or head back to Cali and race a Heron Scramble there with my brother. She didn't leave me any Instagram or any social media tags. That's fine. I'm okay with that. And I appreciate you sharing that. And that's kind of cool. You know, that's kind of how it is for me as a single dad. I do all that for my kiddo, and we are always trying to get better and ride more. And with that, I do want to bring up an idea I have for going into 24. This is something for me and for the podcast and for all of you. I am looking to do a couple meet and greet rides where I bring out different vendors, different food trucks, and we do a family-oriented fun ride for all ages, skill levels, and so forth. It will be something that I'm in the process of working on. I'll have many other vendors, other podcasts, and other maybe media outlets there to help you get in touch with some of these amazing people who are now becoming a part of the podcast, the media following, and so forth. I appreciate all of you. And with that, our next person that wrote back is actually from a media outlet, not necessarily a writer or somebody that has wrote. So, we're going to start out with, this is another follower from Shutter Up and Race. This is what she wrote. My name is Chelsea. I don't ride, but I own and operate Shutter Up and Race. I specialize in photography, videography, graphic design, and social media marketing. I got into taking photos at the track when my son started racing 9 years ago. For 2024, I plan to create an even better content and continue to improve my photo and video skills. I'm looking forward to working with my sponsored riders and anyone else who might want to work with me. Should be a good year. To me, MOTO is about the community and keeping it positive, and that's what I'm hoping to see come out of this podcast. Thank you. And that is my goal for this podcast as well. She did leave me some media tags, so that way you guys can look her up and kind of check it out. Her Instagram is shutterup_and_race, and Facebook is shutter-up-and-race. I hope I said those right. If not, you can always find her on my Instagram at lifeandmoto21. She is a follower of the podcast. It is amazing. I cannot believe the amount of people that reached out, and I just didn't get a chance and time-wise to either read theirs or write about theirs and so forth. And I am so thankful for those people and for your guys' time. I know it's not easy to come up with those things and say, hey, this is why I'm happy, this is why I do the things I do, and so forth. So, we're going to touch on a few other little topics real quick, and then we'll close out. This will be a shorter episode, and that's just due to lack of timing. I have some other scheduled events I need to take care of today. But we are going to, hopefully starting as of January 1st, 2024, I have made the executive decision. We are going to continue to do a episode every night, Monday through Friday. Weekends are my time, and so forth. We'll move forward with that. I would like to keep up the YouTube recordings of the podcast as well as schedule some ride times and dates. Currently, the weather has been miserable. We've had snow, and I think today, the high was maybe 37, 38 degrees, and windy, super windy. I think on my thing, I got a report of over 30-mile-an-hour gusts, which never makes riding any fun, especially if any of you have rode the desert. You know it seems to be 10 times worse. So with that, I did touch on wanting to plan a meet and greet styled ride day. If any of you have any ideas, would like to participate in that, looking forward to maybe getting your name out there when that happens, please don't be afraid to reach out to me. Direct message me on Instagram. We can discuss these things, discuss the events going forward, and kind of make a better plan of that. I would also like to reach out. I have a couple people in mind for food vendors and so forth. I will be an organized event such as we're not going to just have pure chaos. We will have kids riding on a kids setup course and fun run, as well as for adults, beginners. And we'll also be having some sections where there will be coaches, including myself, and some other riders out there to help you in rough technical sections, to help you maybe get better at riding, or maybe see if you can get faster at that. That is my goal. Not quite sure when that's going to come up or when that will be a planned event, but I will keep every one of you definitely in the loop and keep you up to date for that. And if you're out of state listening to the podcast, please don't be afraid to reach out to me and direct message me. Give me like a heads up that, hey, you'd like to come when that time gets announced, and I will work with you, and we will try to make it as easy as possible for you to get directions and get out here to be a part of that. My goal is to not only just do this for Idaho, but all of the Northwest and make this fun and outgoing. I will be following a lot of either the MOTO series with my kiddo or the desert series with my kiddo, just kind of depending on which route she wants to go this season. We also do have some other family members that are riding the track. So Life in Moto is hopefully going to be everywhere. I am in the process of getting some hoodies designed, t-shirts designed, and so forth for everybody when the meet and greet does happen, if you're interested. And we will touch on those things later down the road. But those are some of my goals for the podcast in 2024. We will be having an episode for the New Year's. I don't know if it'll be on New Year's or if it'll be the day after New Year's, but we will account for everything going on for the last 23, and I'm going to be reaching out to a couple other people that are in charge and know of schedules and events coming up, and I will help plan with them as to announcing those events and getting the word spread out about those organizations and events. But in closing, I will say this: it's amazing to be a part of this, watching it grow and spreading the word and getting more of you involved and hopefully helping more of you get involved and interested for the sport, for the idea, and just for getting out and riding. And that's kind of the whole basis of this podcast. And, you know, I know it's life and moto, and I don't necessarily as much talk about the life things, but I think that that's because right now we're focused on one idea. I'm going to be interpreting and adding in the life segments as well, and that is my goal for this podcast. But that will all be in more episodes to come. Let's just get this episode going and get it shared, spread, and just, let's make this podcast as amazing as we can. And I look forward to, when the meet and greet does happen, meeting all of you followers and going forth with that. And I am super appreciative of all of you that did reach out and give me the chance to spread some information about you. And I apologize again to Presley. I feel like I kind of may have botched what she wrote, and I will start this. Let's just do this. I'm going to reread it just to make sure I read this correctly, and that way I feel like it's fair. And I will apologize again. Her name is Presley Churchwell. She's 13 years old. The thing that got her into riding was her dad. He used to have a bike, and she's loved them since then. She's only been riding for about a year. Her goal for 24 is to make it to Loretta's and travel all over to go to races. Something she would like to see out of the podcast is for me to keep having my followers in it. Thank you. And again, her Instagram is Presley_C35. I hope I got it a little bit better that time, and hopefully with having it botched a little bit in the beginning, reread in the end, I can make you feel like got your word out there. So, but as always, please keep 2 wheels down and never be afraid to ever reach out.